We're here today to talk about fresh pasta, but maybe not the fresh pasta you had in mind. See, we've noticed that while there's plenty of attention paid in the culinary world to fresh pasta, everyone always seems to focus on just one kind of fresh pasta, egg fresh pasta.
That's real, Harper, because every time that you see a video or a TV show when they make fresh pasta, they always use egg. In Italy, we have the egg fresh pasta. We invented the egg fresh pasta. But it's also real that in another part of Italy, I'm talking about the south of Italy, before of having egg fresh pasta, we have water fresh pasta.
Water fresh, semolina fresh pasta.
Semolina fresh pasta.
I think I've said this before in a previous video. We have a whole video about egg fresh pasta somewhere up here. But I think that the prevalence of egg fresh pasta has led a lot of people to think that all pasta is made with eggs. But the kind of pasta we're talking about today is actually the same ingredients and really the same kind of pasta as dry pasta that you would buy in a store, whether it's spaghetti or rigatoni, penne.
Fusilli.
So today, it's all about semolina pasta.
Harper, today is about pasta, because the egg fresh pasta is the exception. The rule is semolina and water.
That's true. If you had to pick one to represent pasta, it would be the semolina one.
So, the semolina fresh pasta, that sounds so strange for me to call semolina fresh pasta, is made with flour and water. Sometimes you can find someone who had just a little bit of olive oil, who had maybe a pinch of salt, but basic is made with semolina flour and water, nothing else.
Whereas egg fresh pasta, instead of flour and water, is flour and egg.
When we do egg fresh pasta, usually we use eggs and we use 00 flour or all-purpose flour. When instead we make semolina pasta, we use water and we use what we call in Italy semola rimacinata di grano duro, which is semolina flour. Semolina flour is just the flour from durum wheat. The semolina flour gives much more, let's say, texture to your pasta. It's rough, tough result. I don't know how do you say in English.
It's coarser, it's more rustic.
So it is more rustic.
How would you describe the key differences between the finished pasta, between semolina pasta and egg pasta?
Okay, so right now I'm saying something that I'm provoking.
The North.
No, the North, at least Emilia-Romagna. Okay, if you really like pasta, the semolina pasta is the way to go, because you eat the pasta, you feel the pasta, you can bite into the pasta, while usually the egg fresh pasta is used more as a container of something else. Think about the ravioli. The wonderful thing about ravioli is not the pasta by itself, but it's what you find inside. Tortellini, the same. Lasagna. The semolina pasta is...
It's more about the pasta.
It's pasta.
They also have two totally different tastes, obviously. Like egg has a very distinct taste. So when you make pasta with egg, it has a very rich taste to it. It goes brilliantly with like ragu alla bolognese, with like mushroom sauces, stuff like that.
You need something important for the egg fresh pasta, because as you said, it has the eggy taste, so it needs to be balanced. While the semolina pasta can be also cooked with very, very simple sauces, like also just boil some pasta and some olive oil and you have an amazing plate of pasta, because it has lighter flavor.
Taste. Yeah. Conversely, semolina pasta is often better with sauces that are really rich, like carbonara. If you pair that with an egg fresh pasta, it can be pretty heavy.
Yeah, maybe too heavy. The general rule when you make semolina pasta is 100 grams of semolina flour and 50 grams of water. But because this ratio depends a lot on your flour, where you live, if it's hot outside, if it's wet, if you have air conditioning, if you don't have air conditioning. So, depending on your environment, maybe you need a little bit more flour or a little bit less water. This is a good place to start. Then I will show you a case in which maybe you will need more flour or maybe more water. In the same way you make egg fresh pasta, you should start with making a volcano, a hole. Call it wherever you, a fountain, because in Italy, you know, we call this fontana. And then in the center, you start to add water. And start to mix.
So you don't add all the water at once?
I wouldn't, just because maybe you risk to make a mess. If you don't want to make a mess, you can do a little bit at a time. When you reach this point, when actually the water is absorbed by the flour, you can clean the fork and start to use your hands. Because I live in Arizona and I live in a very dry climate, the normal ratio doesn't really work for me, because as you can see, my pasta is dry, is crumbling, which means that I need a little bit more water. I avoid to add water, like pour water, because I don't know how much I need. So what I do is I wet my hands and just put some drop. I keep kneading. Like with the egg fresh pasta, more you knead your dough, better it is. Usually you should work on it for about 10 minutes. It's very important that you use your strength. That should go from, the top to the bottom. So it means that you should have a table that it is okay for your size. Now, because I'm a short Italian and here I'm between tall Americans, I need always my best friend. And now it's much better. If you have the opposite problem, which means that your pasta is too sticky, your dough is too sticky, what you need to do is just add a little bit more flour. After 10 minutes, our pasta dough looks like this. As you can see, it's much firmer than egg fresh pasta. And now what we do is, like the egg fresh pasta, cover it in plastic paper and let it rest for at least 30 minutes. More it rests, better it is, because it will be easier to shape it. Usually with egg fresh pasta, what you make is a very thin shape, because as we said before, what needs to be underlined there is what is inside, or the sauce by itself. So you need a very thin pasta. While with the semolina pasta, because you are eating pasta, the shape can be also a little bit more thicker.
Like egg fresh pasta, yeah, you normally do, like, for instance, sheets for lasagna, or sheets that you make into ravioli or tortellini or something, or a thin ribbon pasta. You can't, with a few exceptions, I'm thinking about like garganelli, but you can't really shape it because it's not very firm dough. It's kind of soft. Whereas semolina pasta, that's when you start getting into all the shapes. Think again, all the dry pasta that you buy, all those wonderful shapes, farfalle and penne and stuff like that. It's all semolina dough for a reason, because that's the dough that you can use to actually make crazy, beautiful shapes. That being said, of course, unless you have an extruder, a machine, you can't really make spaghetti or bucatini or rigatoni at home.
I think that nowadays you can find also a cheaper pasta machine that actually they make the rigatoni and the fusilli.
Oh, really?
It's not a suggestion for a Christmas gift. In my opinion, it's better if you go to a grocery shop and buy a very good package of Italian pasta.
But there are a lot of great shapes that you can make at home that are easy, you don't need any special tools to make them.
And also the shape that you make at home, that you can make at home, they are the most traditional one, the most regional one, because if you can find spaghetti all over Italy and also outside of Italy, there are shapes of pasta that you can find just in that region because the knowledgeable hands of the old women in Italy, they learn how to make.
Yeah, most Italians in the past didn't have an extruder at home.
So they developed the skill to make those shape of pasta. And which kind of pasta you can make with semolina dough? Believe me, a bunch of pastas. After half an hour, you work on your dough just a little bit more to make it, as you can see, smoother. It's very important to work in batches because otherwise your pasta will dry. So you take a small piece, the rest keep it covered, and then depending on which shape you are going to make, you need to make a thicker snake or a slimmer snake. If you have a problem of rolling your snake, what you can do is just take a little bit of water your hands, and the magic happens. We start with a very famous and well-known Cavatelli. Cavatelli can be found in Italy in different shapes. So for the Cavatelli, I make the snake thick like my pinky. You cut a small piece. Now with 2 fingers, you place your fingers here and then you roll them. Okay, let's make this a little bit better. These 2 holes that you have, they are very good to keep the sauce. Another thing that you can do, and maybe you saw also Cavatelli made like that, so you can take a gnocchi board, a piece of dough, and do the same. In this case, you will have a cavatello with all the ridges. Cavatello is a shape of pasta that is used in Italy with a different kind of sauce. One of the best is for sure a ragu. Another one that is very good, works very well, is for example a beans-based sauce. And for beans I mean chickpeas, I mean cannellini beans, borlotti beans. They are very good also, for example, with fava beans. If you cut the peas a little bit shorter and you use just 1 finger, what you have is what we call in Italy Gnocchetti Sardi, or in Sardinian malloreddus. Now we go in a very famous region also outside of Italy, which is Puglia, and we are going to make orecchiette. So you cut a small piece, you roll the knife towards you.
Would you say towards you? I like that, towards you.
Then you take the piece of dough, the piece of pasta, you do this action.
Turn it inside out.
See? And you have your homemade orecchiette. The best way to eat orecchiette is without any doubt, orecchiette with broccoli rob. Cime di rabo. And let's be honest, orecchiette are good with everything. From Puglia, Now we go to Sicily. One of the shape of pasta that they do with semolina dough is called busiate. In order to make busiate, you need to make a snake that is a little bit thinner. You cut a segment of pasta more or less like that. You need this, that in English is called
A skewer, a shish kebab skewer.
in Italian is called spiedino. You place this part here and gentle roll it. And you have your busiate. Now the busiate in Sicily can be short like this, or they can be also longer. The next pasta shape brings us to Sardinia. What we need to do is roll a very thin snake from our pasta dough. We keep rolling it a little bit thinner. So you roll, and when it's the conjunction, the connection point, you press. You do the second one. The extra pasta you actually cut, close very well, and then you start to roll like this.
That's so cute.
This is cute. This kind of pasta is called Lorighittas. This is fresh pasta, obvious. But because this kind of pasta, the Lorighittas, they have a very delicate shape, the best way, if you want to eat them, is to make the day before and dry them. At this stage, this is just a normal dry pasta that you can actually save in your pantry for at least 1 month, 2 months. Otherwise, if you cook them fresh, what happens is that they can lose the shape.
Well, this is one sort of interesting advantage to making semolina pasta, because you can't really dry egg fresh pasta at home. You kind of have to freeze it.
See, freezing is much better, because otherwise you need like the special tool, because there are eggs involved. This at the end is just flour and water, so actually you can dry as I did, like leaving them outside for a night. And this is what happens. You can dry orecchiette, you can dry busiate, you can dry every kind of semolina pasta. The difference when you cook is that if you cook from fresh, it takes 3-4 minutes. If you cook from dry, it starts to take like 10, 12, 15, 16. It depends on how thick your pasta is. Lorighittas are traditionally served with a meat sauce. It's also real that Lorighittas are wonderful with also simple tomato sauce, and this is what I'm going to cook today.
It's actually been a really long time since I've had a Scarpariello sauce. For those who don't know, this simple cherry tomato sauce, in my opinion, is the most important Italian pasta dish that everyone should learn.
It's maybe the basic
Exactly.
Italian pasta dish. Simple tomatoes, some olive oil, some good pasta, basil, cheese if you like. If you don't like, you can also skip.
It changed my life. But anyway, this is cool because I've never had this pasta shape before.
So we should begin also because like every kind of pasta can't wait for you. You can wait for pasta, but pasta can't wait for you. And as you can see, that's why they dries out this kind of pasta.
Yeah, they hold their shape
because,
amazingly well. Those are very easy to eat. You just scoop them up.
Buon
Buon
appetito.
appetito. Why have I never had this shape before? It's so good.
Because I never took you to Sardinia.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. That's what I love about semolina pasta, is that bite you get from it. It's so toothy. If you cook it al dente, if you cook it properly.
You feel the pasta.
Plus, you can do cool shapes like this with it. For those of you who like a written guide, I will put a recipe of sorts for how to make semolina pasta at home down in the description below. Guys, we hope you enjoyed this look at the other kind of fresh pasta. Before we go, a quick shout out to a pasta grammarian who made an amazing southern pasta dish, Calabrian style pasta with chickpeas and broccoli.
My favorite pasta.
Well done, it looks fantastic.
You should invite me next time. I will come.
If you want to become a pasta grammarian, just hit that subscribe button. Follow us on social media at Pasta Grammar, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.
I don't know if we can say it, like a lot of people that they are vegan or vegetarian, they don't eat fresh pasta because they think that it's with egg. No.
You can just say, plus, it's vegan. And I'll start putting this in all of our videos. Anytime you make a dish that's vegan, it'll just pop up in a little window. Plus, it's vegan. Just do a little spin into it. Plus, it's vegan.
Plus, it's vegan.
Yes. Guys, feel free to edit that into whatever you want.
No,